Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports Podcast. I'm Simon Head, back from a brief summer break overseas, but now we are back in the saddle. We are ready for some more mixed martial arts. We have the UFC are back in action at the UFC Apex on Saturday night. But what we want to focus on this week's show is what's taking place right here in Europe this weekend. OKTAGON MMA, one of the biggest promotions in Europe, one of the biggest success stories of mixed martial arts in this part of the world over the last couple of years, is hosting a huge event over in Prague, Czech Republic on Saturday night. We're going to run you through the fight card, talk about some of the fights and why you need to be checking out the action from Stvanica Island in the Czech Republic this weekend. It should be a great show. Let's break down the fights right here. In the main event of the evening, we have a battle for the OKTAGON Women's Bantamweight Championship of the world. Norway's Cecilie Bolander, the recently crowned champion of OKTAGON MMA at 135 pounds, is taking on the undefeated Lucia Szabova, who is 9-0 on a tear, looking to come in there and capture championship gold. Bolander, though, is a really gritty, hard-nosed competitor. I remember watching her in the IMAFs a few years ago in Abu Dhabi when I was working over there, and she's as tough as they come. She made it all the way to the tournament final that year, lost out to Sabrina De Souza, who, for anybody who knows anything about amateur mixed martial arts, she was, and I think probably is statistically, the most dominant athlete in women's MMA history at the amateur level. She has now progressed on to the professional level, and following in her footsteps is Bolander. But Bolander has gone and joined OKTAGON MMA. She had a few fights on the regional scene, joined OKTAGON MMA, took on Lucia Pudilova, a Czech veteran of the game who has competed in the UFC and had some successes in the UFC. She lost a split decision to Lucia Pudilova down at OKTAGON 61, which was last September 2024. And but that was such a good fight, such a close fight. Really could have gone either way. So the OKTAGON matchmakers decided to rebook the fight again the following December 2024, with championship gold on the line. I believe it was the inaugural title at bantamweight, the first ever women's bantamweight crown to be awarded in OKTAGON MMA. This time, it was Bolander who edged the split decision to get that victory, win the belt, and become the first ever OKTAGON 135-pound women's champion. Her story is an interesting one insofar as she's come through the ranks, she's done the amateur stuff, she's won championships at amateur level, she's competed, got all the way to a world final at amateur level, but she's from Norway, and in Norway, mixed martial arts is banned, and she doesn't have that backing, she doesn't have that ability to compete in our own country. She's had to travel. She had to be a bit of a nomad and compete in other parts of the world to build her career. It was the same for like the French fighters a few years ago, where the sport was banned over there. They had to travel to find their competition, and Cecilie is no different in that respect. Now she's got a home in OKTAGON. She's got a great personality. She's a little bit different. She's a little bit quirky. She's got that sort of no F's given sort of approach, but she's always got a smile on her face. And when she fights, she is as relentless as they come. She's got great submissions, and she's quite happy to stand and throw hands with you as well. But if she gets you on the mat, that's when she's really dangerous. Taking a look at her fight stats so far in her professional career, she is 4-1 as a professional. So it's still very, very young in her professional mixed martial arts career. She already has the OKTAGON title, taking on Lucia Szabova this weekend. But as I say, those two fights with Lucia Pudilova really established her as a championship level athlete at the European level. She'd won 3 straight leading into that. A Cage Warriors Academy fight as a pro back in 2022. She won that by armbar. She then wins another armbar for the MCP promotion back in 2023. Fights for Superior Challenge in 2023. Wins a split decision there. Has a year away. Basically comes back as an OKTAGON athlete in September 2024. Has the split decision, lost to Pudilova. Bounces back in December. Beats Pudilova by split. Wins the bantamweight title. She's got a tough test this weekend though. She really has. Lucia Szabova, 9 wins, 7 finishes from those 9 wins, 2 by KO, 5 by submission. So we might see a fair amount of this fight play out on the ground potentially. Both of them like to be on the mat and get the job done on the ground. Szabova, as I say, unbeaten. She's lost a couple of fights. She lost an exhibition fight in Octagon Underground back in 2020, and she's lost a Muay Thai fight. But that aside, she has just run the table with everybody she's been in there with. Most recently at Octagon, she beat Rosa Gumiena at Octagon 55 in March 2024. Aitana Alvarez of Spain, gritty Spanish competitor, defeated her at the Octagon Summer Party in June 2024 at Octagon 59. Most recently, she beat Kalindra Faria, very experienced, mixed record, though, 19-10-1, Kalindra Faria. She went and beat her 19-11-1 rather. And she got the win there, standing Americana choke. That put her up to 9-0 as a professional. And she will be challenging Cecilie Bolander this weekend for the Octagon bantamweight title. Great to see the women in the main event. Sometimes on these European or regional cards, you tend to find that they'll put a big men's fight, or it'll be done by weight class, or it'll be, you know, whatever it might be. They might put the biggest ticket seller at the top of the card. This is the title fight. They put the title fight at the top of the card. That is how it is supposed to be done. You put the championship fight at the top of the bill, and that is what we're going to get. However, that is far from the only attraction on this Octagon fight card this weekend, because the Tipsport Gamechanger is back in business again. Octagon's €1 million middleweight tournament, as it is this year. One of the best introductions or best additions to European mixed martial arts over the last couple of years or so, I would say. The Tipsport Gamechanger. Always great fun to watch. Love watching it. We had the welterweights first time round. We had the lightweights second time round. Now we've got the middleweights, and it's quarterfinals day this weekend. All 4 quarterfinals taking place back to back to back on that main fight card. Let's take a look at the fights on that Tipsport Gamechanger quarterfinal lineup. All right, in the co-main event is arguably the biggest fight in the Tipsport Gamechanger tournament so far. Middleweight champion Kerim Engizek taking on England's Mick Stanton. Now, the championship belt not on the line in this fight. However, it is an important fight. Obviously, if you beat the champion, then really, what's the champion doing holding the belt? Do you know what I mean? But anyway, this is a tournament fight. It's aside from the championship, unless some sort of deal gets done between now and fight night and the belt becomes part of the tournament, which I think it should be if the champion's in the tournament. But anyway, Engizek versus Stanton. Engizek is a very, very compact, controlled striker. He doesn't do much out of the ordinary. He will stand there and will just outstrike you, outwork you, control pressure over as long as it takes, 3 rounds, 5 rounds, whatever the duration, to get the job done. 22-4 as a professional, dethroned Patrick Kinsell, dominated Patrick Kinsell, who's going through a bit of a career slump at the moment, but he was previously the pound-for-pound #1 in Octagon MMA. He's taken on Mick Stanton, the Height and Hammer, former Cage Warriors middleweight champion, 14-8. And someone who, while Engizek wants to stand and trade, Stanton will want to take this fight to the mat. Make no bones about it. It is a real clash of styles. Stanton also picked Engizek. The way the draw works, sort of K1 style, the names get drawn out of a hat. They put themselves in the bracket. Engizek was already in the bracket. Stanton, as soon as he got his name, went straight to him. That's a real statement of intent from Mick Stanton. It should be a great clash of styles. Can Engizek keep the fight standing, keep the fight at range, and fend off Stanton, who is just going to be all over him like a cheap suit from the minute the fight gets underway? Should be a cracker in the co-main event. Kerim Engizek versus Mick Stanton. Also set for action in the Tipsport Gamechanger, Dominik Humberger versus Mark Hulm. Humberger was the last man added to the Tipsport Gamechanger lineup. If you remember, they announced the brackets. There was 1 spot left a wild card entry to take on Samuel Kristofic. And that man was Dominic Humberger, who came in and finished Kristofic, the Pirate, in just 2 rounds. Got it done, TKO finish, second round stoppage to really announce himself and announce his arrival in Octagon MMA. Previously competed in KSW, now in Octagon MMA, finally getting a chance to compete on home soil, so to speak. He is a Czech fighter. He's now competing in the Czech Republic for a Czech promotion. He's home. He's home. And he put in a really impressive performance to beat Pirat last time out. Now he's got Mark Hulm in the quarterfinals. Now, Hulm might not be a household name. He is a dangerous, dangerous man. Training partner of Dricus du Plessis, hailing from South Africa, defeated Andreas Michailidis, who, if you remember, got to the final of the welterweight Tipsport Gamechanger, moved up to middleweight for this tournament, but was finished in the first round by guillotine choke by Mark Hulm, who loves to get the job done on the mat. He has no knockouts at all on his record. None. 0. Zilch. What he does have is 8 submission victories to his name. So he's been in there. He finishes people on the ground. He's got 5 decision wins as well. So if he can't sub you, he's going to grind out a decision. Only a brave person would bet on him to get a KO or a TKO win based on his past performances. He is a pure grappler. He is a nightmare to deal with on the ground. Humberger has, by contrast, no submissions to his name. No submission wins, no submission losses either, though. So bear that in mind. But he does have 8 knockout or TKO victories. We have 2. We've got the yin and yang of mixed martial arts in this particular fight. We've got someone who goes in there and looks to take you down and strangle you or go home with one of your limbs in Mark Hulm. Or you've got Dominic Humberger, who gets in the cage and looks to take your head off the shoulders. So it should be a real clash of styles in this one. Really looking forward to it. I love these sorts of matchups where you've got a big style clash. What it does mean is what's going to hinge on this result. This match is going to hinge on the secondary skills of the two fighters. So yes, Humberger is a knockout artist. How good is his takedown defense and submission defense? Whereas Hulm, yes, he's great at taking you down and submitting you. How good is he striking? We're going to see the weaker end of their skill sets tested in this fight. And whoever's secondary skill set is higher, they're the one that's probably going to win this fight. But it's a fantastic matchup. Looking forward to seeing how that one goes. That is our second quarterfinal in the Tipsport Gamechanger here at Octagon 74. All right, our third quarterfinal in the Tipsport Gamechanger at Octagon 74 sees a former UFC veteran take on a man looking to take full advantage of a second bite of the cherry in this tournament. Number 3 ranked Marek Mazuk from Slovakia lost his first round matchup to Poland's Piotr Wawrzyniak. More of him a bit later, meaning he was out of the tournament. Done, finished, take your bags, go home. But due to a gap opening up in the tournament, there was a lucky loser spot. There was a vote, I believe, and Marek Mazuk won that vote. He is in, taking on Krzysztof Jotko. The experience differential, when you look at their records, is enormous. Jotko has 32 fights to his name. Mazuk has 12. So we've got a huge experience discrepancy here. Jotko has been in there with some of the very best in the world fighting in the UFC middleweight division. And we've got Marek Mazuk, 9-3 as a professional, coming off the back of a loss to Wawrzyniak last time out. Can he upset the form book here and defeat Jotko? Jotko is an absolute nightmare to fight against. He might not necessarily finish you. He's sort of a death by 1,000 cuts kind of fighter. He will go in there and he'll just chip away. And that's kind of what he did in his Octagon debut when he took on Ion Serdu in the opening round. I know Serdu, welterweight champion was someone who they had a lot of high hopes for in this tournament. Welterweight champion fighting without a weight cut. How would he do? He got bullied a little bit, if we're honest. I think, Jotko was just too big, too strong, and too technically solid. Wasn't the most exciting fight to watch, but then Jotko's fights aren't always the most exciting fights to watch. What they are, he fights very, very effectively. He knows his skill set so well. He's so experienced. He fights through strengths incredibly well. He's got good movement. He's got good counter striking. He's got this style that he kind of fights off schedule a little bit off tempo. He sometimes his striking cadence is a little bit different, and that catches his opponents out quite frequently during fights. It's hard to get a read on the guy, and that makes him very difficult to deal with. Over the course of his career, he has 6 stoppage wins by strikes. He's got a couple of subs on his record, but in the main, he gets it done on the scorecards. 18 wins in total by decision for Krzysztof Jotko. He'll probably look to make it number 19 this weekend against Mazuk. Mazuk, much more someone who will go in there and look to finish fights. 7 of his 9 wins have come by knockout. No subs, 2 decisions. But he's a man who's got nothing to lose, right? He was in the tournament, loses out to Wawrzyniak first time round. Now he's got a second shot. He's got a second chance. If he goes in there and beats Jotko, he's 2 wins away from 300,000 euros first prize in the tournament. So big fight for him. I would expect him to come in all guns blazing against Jotko. You can't just look to stand and point fight him because Jotko will win that fight. Mazuk needs to go in there and be uber aggressive and get in his face and make Jotko fight his fight. If Jotko controls the tempo of this fight, he will cruise his way to a decision victory. If Mazuk goes in there and really looks to sort of deploy berserker mode a little bit, things could get interesting in that matchup. Another thing to mention in that matchup is just what will happen afterwards. Jotko is one of these fighters. No one seems to really want to fight him. Whereas Mazuk, will he want to go for a rematch if Wawrzyniak gets a win in his quarterfinal, which we'll talk about in a second. So the dynamics of that next round will be very, very interesting too. But Jotko versus Mazuk is our 3rd quarterfinal match in the Tipsport Gamechanger at OKTAGON 74. And the 4th quarterfinal in the Tipsport Gamechanger at OKTAGON 74 this weekend sees former light heavyweight interim champion Piotr Wawrzyniak of Poland taking on Germany's Wojciech Kajewand. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Kajewand coming in as a super sub once again. We mentioned it in the previous fight. Wawrzyniak was due to face Mati Peñas, which would have been an absolutely brilliant matchup. Unfortunately, Peñas was declared ill, got a staph infection, I think, out of the fight. Now Kajewand steps in and has a chance to just completely turn everything upside down in this tournament. Wasn't involved earlier on in the tournament. This is his first shot. He's a win away from the semi-finals. Let's take a look at the records of both them. Wawrzyniak is 14-6. 14-6 for his career. He's had a lot of fights cancelled. He knocked out Marek Mazuk, who is in the quarterfinals as a lucky loser. Knocked him out towards the end of the first round in the Tipsport Gamechanger opening round to get himself into the quarterfinal stages. He's beaten Andreas Michailidis. He lost to Patrick Kinsella back in 2024. But he captured championships in Babylon MMA in Poland, beat Vlasto Chepo to win the interim title, then lost to Patrick Kinsella in a title unification bout back in March of 2024. Since then, as I say, beat Andreas Michailidis, then gets in the tournament, beats Marek Mazuk. Now he's in the quarterfinals against substitute opposition, Wojciech Kajewand. And Kajewand is a mixed bag, really. He can win. He's got three KO wins. He's got 4 sub wins, 2 decision wins. He is on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Candy Rayamba at OKTAGON 66. And he beat another grappler in Lucas Siwiec at OKTAGON 70. Wawrzyniak, a much bigger, stronger grappler than Siwiec is, but someone who he's got heavy hands as well. So whether Wawrzyniak wants to stand and strike or whether he wants to take things down, I don't know. Wawrzyniak is a knockout artist, but he is strong with his wrestling. He's very good at getting the fight down. He's relentless. He doesn't have submissions to his name, but he's very, very strong on the mat nonetheless. But he likes to, rather than go for subs, he uses control from top position to land heavy ground and pound. But he's someone who likes to stand and throw shots. And Karjavan is going to find himself in the firing line on Saturday night. Looking at these matchups, if we were trying to do some predictions, let's take a look. Let's do some predictions, shall we? I think Mick Stanton is going to overwhelm Kerim Engizek. I really do. Engizek is a good, strong fighter, but I haven't seen too many fights really put him under pressure in a way even close to what Mick Stanton is going to do. Stanton's going to have to eat some shots on the way in, and that's going to be the danger zone for him. He's got to cross that gap, that no man's land, where all he's going to get are fists, knees, and feet. If he can get through there, get his hands on Engizek, I think he has what it takes to dominate Engizek on the mat and potentially get a submission victory. The second quarterfinal is a real toss-up. I really struggle with this one. Dominic Humberger, heavy-handed, loves to stand and bang. Mark Hulm, really strong grappler. I'm leaning towards the grappler. I'm leaning towards Mark Hulm. I think if he's in there training with someone like Dricus du Plessis, then he knows what it's like to stand in front of someone who can really bang. He knows what it's like standing there with someone with a ridiculous gas tank. So give me the South African in that one. I think Mark Hulm might get this one done. However, if he keeps you standing for too long, Humberger has what it takes to separate him from his senses. So that one will be interesting as long as the fight stays standing. If Hulm gets it to the mat, then it could be a very, very tough night for Dominic Humberger. But yeah, give me Mark Hulm in that second fight. The third fight, Krzysztof Jotko versus Marek Mazout. I was saying earlier, Mazout got KO'd by Wawrzyniak in the first round in their opening round matchup. Now he's got in as a lucky loser, taking off Krzysztof Jotko. I think he's replacing Vlasto Chepo, Marek Mazout. But taking on Krzysztof Jotko, I find it really hard to see past the Jotko win here. I really do. I mean, Mazout's got to go all guns blazing and try and land something. Jotko doesn't get finished very easily, so I just think that Jotko is a little bit too smart, a little bit too seasoned. And I think he's probably going to grind out another decision victory in that quarterfinal matchup. And the last one, Wawrzyniak versus Karjavan, or Kayavand, I don't know how you pronounce the J in his name, I apologise. I can't see past Wawrzyniak. I think Wawrzyniak will be right in front of him and just looking to unload hammers. And I think he'll get that job done inside 2 rounds. So the quarterfinalists, I think the semi-finalists will be 2 from Poland, Piotr Wawrzyniak and Krzysztof Jotko. And then 1 from South Africa in Mark Hulm and 1 from England in Mick Stanton. They are my predictions. What I'd also predict for you is that if they're picking semi-final matchups, we won't see Jotko versus Wawrzyniak in the semi-finals. So we're going to see Stanton versus one of the Polish fighters and Hulm versus one of the Polish fighters. I think the 2 Poles are hoping to face each other in the final. So I seem to recall them having a conversation during the draw for the quarterfinals, and Wawrzyniak saying we'll fight each other in the final. So we'll see how that one goes. That is OKTAGON 74 taking place at an amazing venue. We need to touch on this. They've been holding big stadium shows in the last year or so. They've gone to Eden Stadium in Prague. They've gone to Frankfurt, Germany, the Deutsche Bank Park. I was at that event, 60,000 people, incredible experience, amazing atmosphere. Great job done by OKTAGON with that show. Previously, before they started using Eden Stadium for their open air summer shows, they were using a tennis stadium in Stvenica, which is a small island in Prague, where they hold ATP and WTA tennis events. Big open air stadium, about 7,000-8,000 capacity, I think. And they used to hold events there. And eventually they outgrew it. They did a double header, I think in 2013 it might have been. And then they declared that they'd outgrown that venue and that they were moving on, and then that's how the Eden Stadium project happened. However, we're back at Stvenica now, and I'm really pleased because it looks great on TV. It's a great setting. The stands are really steep. it's a real it's a real sort of cauldron for the fighters to be applying. But it's open air. It's in the summer. You've got the fights start during daylight hours. And then as the sun goes down, you progress into the main card, and then the the big fights at the top of the fight card take place in the evening under lights. So it's a great experience. It's a great venue, and I'm really glad they're back there. And I hope they continue going back there. It's a venue that I really want to go and watch some fights in at some point in the not too distant future. So hopefully they keep doing shows there. But this one will be great. And it's so good to see them back in Stvanica. You've got Cecilie Bolander versus Lucia Szabova for the bantamweight title in the main event. Tipsport Gamechanger, Engizek versus Stanton, Humberger versus Hulm, Jocko versus Mazuk, Boroziniak versus Kajamand. Also, we have Radek Rusel versus Adrian Hamerski in a featherweight prelim. There's a reserve bout in the Tipsport Gamechanger tournament. David Zawada taking on Kamil Oniszczyk. And then a bit further down the card, Daniel Lijoki versus Andre Langen, Wojtek Kol versus Rafael Federico. And kicking off the event, Mikhaila Hlavachikova taking on England's Niamh Kinahan. Both of them at bantamweight, making their professional mixed martial arts debuts. So it works its way up the card gradually. And then when we hit the main card, you've got that Tipsport Gamechanger 4-fight run leading into the title fight, Cecilie Bolander versus Lucia Szabova. So fun night of fights in store in Prague, Czech Republic on Saturday night. That is OKTAGON 74. Also set for action on Saturday night, the UFC Apex is back in business this weekend. UFC Vegas 109, Dolidze versus Hernandez. This is an important fight in the UFC middleweight division. Roman Dolidze of Georgia, Anthony Hernandez of the United States. Neither one of them currently considered one of the very, very top contenders in 185 pounds. But a victory for either one of these guys will push them towards potentially top 5 opposition. Dolidze ranked 9th in the division. Hernandez ranked 10th in the division. It is a really, really important matchup for the weight class, and one that I think could deliver one of the best fights we've seen so far this year. We've seen some good ones. Dolidze is as hard-nosed as they come. He's great on the ground. He's got heavy hands on the feet. Former light heavyweight, so you know that he can take some punishment from bigger, stronger guys. He's now fighting down at his optimum weight class of middleweight, and he's looking very, very good. He's on a 3-fight win streak heading into Saturday night, but he's taking on Fluffy Hernandez, who is on a 7-fight win streak, and someone who is just going in there looking to finish people. I described him as a phone booth fighter. He just gets in your face. He's throwing punches the whole time until he's taking you to the mat. And once you're on the mat, he's got superb submissions. This, I think, has got all the ingredients of an absolute banger at 185 pounds. I'm genuinely excited to see this fight. As I say, they're not household names in the UFC middleweight division yet, but both of them deserve huge respect. Both of them are the sort of opponent that no one above them really wants to find themselves sharing the cage with. So they are a problem for anybody at 185 pounds with a number next to their name. And the winner of this one is probably going to find themselves competing in and around the top 5. They won't be ranked that high. They'll be ranked sort of lower top 10. But I would imagine their next match will give them a crack at the top 5, top 6 maybe in that middleweight division. Really important fight for the 185-pound class in that main event. Steve Erceg is competing in the co-main event bantamweight bout against O'Day Osborne. That bout was recently added to the card and confirmed as the co-main event. We've got Yasmin Lucindo of Brazil taking on Angela Hill. That's an important one for the strawweight division. Both women looking to move their way up that weight class into contention. Angela Hill, of course, a founder member of the division. Love watching her fight. I love watching her career journey. She's just constantly tweaked and changed and improved and developed her game throughout her career. She started out just as a striker, and last year she picked up her first career submission. So Really, really good stuff from her. Yasmin Lucindo has shared the cage with some of the top names in the division. Sometimes it's gone her way, sometimes it hasn't. Got a bit of a mixed record on paper, but she's very, very dangerous in this weight class. So looking forward to seeing how that one goes. Andre Fili, love Andre Fili. One of the great characters in mixed martial arts. Always really worth listening to his interviews, listening to him, how he talks about his life and his career story. Mad respect for that man. He's been in the UFC for years. He's now got himself a young family, and he's fighting for even more than himself now. He's in the veteran stage of his career, taking on the dangerous Christian Rodriguez. That is a tough fight for Andre Fili, but we know that if Fili is at his best, he can go in there and mix it with anybody. So looking forward to that one at 145 pounds. Also on the card, Miles Johns versus Jean Matsumoto at bantamweight. Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan at 185 pounds. Anders has been in the UFC forever, former college football standout, now in the UFC, and has been in there with a host of big names. He's 17-8 for his career, taking on Christian Leroy Duncan, who is a colossal betting favourite in this fight. I don't know if the odds are a little unfair to both men here. I think Christian Leroy Duncan shouldn't be as big of a favourite as this. Not because he's not talented, he's insanely talented, but he's taken on a guy with so much experience and so much grit and toughness that this is a test for Christian Leroy Duncan. I do think it's a test he will pass, but I thought I saw odds of like 6-1, 6-1 on for Christian Leroy Duncan to win this fight, which is crazy. You know, you can't even entertain odds like that. So, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I do believe he will win. I don't know if he's a 1-6 favourite. I mean, that just seems like gross disrespect to Eric Anders to me, but we'll see how it goes on fight night. But that's a good fight at 185 pounds. Running down the rest of the card, Julius Walker versus Rafael Sequeira at 205. Elijah Smith versus Toshiomi Kazama at 135. Also at 35, but on the women's side of the coin, Justin Edwards taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. Uros Medic versus Gilbert Urbina should be one to watch at 170. Medic, horrible year of injuries he had to get over. Came back against Puna Soriano, who then got knocked out in the first round, his first ever KO defeat. He's desperate to bounce back against Urbina this weekend. I think that could be a sleeper for fight of the night early on that fight card at the UFC Apex. You got Gabriela Fernandez versus Julia Stoliarenko at women's flyweight. Stoliarenko, the armbar queen of the UFC, I would suggest, looking to add Gabriela Fernandez to her list of victims. And the night kicks off with a light heavyweight bout between Cody Brundage and Eric McConaughey. Big night of fights, starting off in the Czech Republic, then crossing over to Las Vegas. Well worth checking out. You can get Octagon 74 via online pay-per-view. All the details can be found at OKTAGONMMA.com. And of course, if you're a long-time UFC watcher, you know where to find the UFC. The prelims are on Fight Pass. The main card is on TNT Sports for viewers here in the UK. Should be another fun weekend of fights, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's great to have the podcast back up and running again after a week away. And we'll be back next week as well to recap this, but more importantly, to look forward to what's coming up. Huge UFC pay-per-view coming up. UFC 319 should be a big one. We will preview that next week. But before we leave you, just a little bit of housekeeping. Give us a follow on social media. I'm at Simon Head Sport. You can find me on all social media platforms. Don't forget to follow RDX Sports as well. On X, they're RDX Sports. On Instagram and Threads, they're RDX_sports. And most importantly of all, give us a subscribe, hit the like button, and make sure you come back next week and join us for the next edition of the RDX Sports podcast. Enjoy the fights this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Should be some crackers among them, and I'll speak to you next week.